It is night in the small seaside town of Myra, in what is now Turkey. The streets are quiet, the lamps have gone out, and only the sound of the waves can be heard in the distance. But as most people sleep, one man walks silently through the shadows, holding a small bag in his hand. Inside, there is gold, and in his heart, there is love. This man is Nicholas, the Bishop of Myra, and tonight, he is about to perform an act of mercy that will echo through centuries. Saint Nicholas was born around the year 270 into a wealthy Christian family. From a young age, he was known for his deep faith and compassion for the poor. His parents died when he was still young, leaving him a great inheritance. But instead of spending it on himself, Nicholas made a quiet decision. He would use everything he had to help others. In the same town lived a poor man who had once been wealthy, but over the years, he lost everything. He had 3 daughters, all of them good and virtuous, but poverty had pushed them to the edge of despair. In those days, a young woman could not marry without a dowry, a sum of money given to the groom's family. Without it, they were left with no future, and often forced into slavery or prostitution just to survive. The man was desperate. He could not bear to see his daughters ruined, but he was powerless. Nicholas heard of their suffering. He could not stand by while innocence was about to be destroyed. But he also wanted to help without drawing attention to himself. He remembered the words of Christ, "Do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing." True charity, he believed, should be hidden. So one night, Nicholas filled a small bag with gold coins, enough to serve as a dowry for the eldest daughter. He waited until the house was quiet and crept to the window. Through the darkness, he saw the humble home and prayed. Then, without a sound, he tossed the bag through the open window and disappeared into the night. The next morning, the poor man awoke to find the bag of gold. He could not believe his eyes. He and his eldest daughter wept with joy and gratitude. She soon married, saved from misery, and began a new life. But Nicholas was not finished. Some time later, he returned with another bag of gold. Again, he came in secret, threw it through the window, and vanished. The second daughter too was able to marry, and hope returned to the family. By the time the third daughter's turn came, the father decided to stay awake and discover who his mysterious benefactor was. That night, Nicholas came once more, silent and humble, carrying the third bag of gold. But as he approached the window, the father rushed outside and caught him. He fell to his knees and began to weep, thanking him for saving his daughters. Nicholas begged him to keep the secret. "Thank God, not me," he said, "for he alone deserves the glory." But word of his kindness spread throughout Myra, and people began to see him as the protector of the poor and the defender of those in need. This story of the 3 bags of gold became one of the most famous miracles of Saint Nicholas, a symbol of hidden generosity and love. Over time, his example inspired the tradition of secret gift-giving that eventually gave rise to the figure of Santa Claus. But the true Nicholas was not about reindeer or chimneys. He was about compassion, justice, and a heart burning with mercy. Throughout his life, Saint Nicholas continued to help those who suffered. He freed prisoners, protected sailors from storms, and even defended innocent people from false accusations. He lived in constant prayer, fasting, and service, showing that holiness is not found in power, but in quiet acts of love. After his death around the year 343, devotion to him spread rapidly across the Christian world. Churches were built in his honor. Relics were carried to distant lands, and his feast on December 6th became a day of joy and generosity. But beyond the legends and the traditions, the message of Saint Nicholas remains clear. True love does not seek applause. True giving asks for nothing in return. The real miracle of Saint Nicholas is not gold through a window, but the heart that loves enough to give in secret. In a world that often celebrates what is seen, Saint Nicholas reminds us that the greatest acts of love happen in silence. The hands that give quietly are the ones most like Christ, and perhaps, if we look closely, we will see that behind every gift of kindness, The same spirit that moved Nicholas still moves hearts today. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who believes that small acts of love can change the world. And if you want to discover more true miracles and hidden stories of the saints, subscribe and join us as we uncover how faith, courage, and compassion shaped history.